Hello, and welcome to episode 81 of the Player 3 podcast. I'm your host, Luke Croft. You guys know this face right next to me because alongside me, he can fix you a nice, delicious glass Pepsi and steal your daughter's heart, ladies and gentlemen. Doug Martin.
You're not my real dad.
Last time you were on our show, we were reacting to the awesome press conference that PS4 had, that Sony had at E3.
Mm-hmm.
And then before that, it was like episode 60 or something like that. It was
It might have been like 7.
7?
Episode 7.
Oh, episode 7. Yeah, so I'm glad to have you back on today, my friend.
Well, it's real good to be here.
Larry is getting his teeth prodded at by a professional dentist, and then
A professional
a
dentist.
professional dentist, as opposed to the amateur dentist that those without dental insurance have to go to, who are charging, $5 to pull your gold teeth out.
We all know how that goes.
I don't.
Hmm.
But you growing up on the streets, I understand that you probably do.
Well, they don't really sell insurance at Kroger. Food stamps and all that.
My gosh. All right.
We're
And
getting wild already.
Ben's off being a dad somewhere. This is actually his first day with his wife back at work where he's having to take care of his son. He's taking care of his son all by himself, but it's the first time his wife is away at work. So
he's probably naked in a corner, like
Just-
rocking back and forth.
just no idea. Just
The-
wondering when that baby's going to go to college.
He's weeping, and the baby's like looking at him like, "Well, what's wrong with you, Dad? You're not a man."
Just losing all respect for his father.
Mm-hmm. Right there in infancy.
So my question to you, Seth, is how have you been, my friend?
I've been well. I've been moving, getting everything still together in our new apartment, and really just I'm starting to catch up on gaming now. Finally getting around to things like Uncharted and Telltale Batman. I was like 2 months behind you guys in Overwatch, so I'm still trying to catch up on that too, and there's just not enough time in the day.
Gosh. But you are caught up finally to the point
So
where you
play
can
competitive.
play competitive. You've noticed the difference, right?
Oh yeah. Now I was curious real quick. I couldn't find competitive on there the other day when I was playing. Though it was like 3 a.m, and it just wasn't an option at all.
They may have taken it down for maintenance or a patch or
thinking
something
something
like
like that,
that.
yeah.
Or they're also adding a map to it, so that may have. I don't know. I haven't got to play Overwatch all week because I was too busy playing Madden. So
Sports.
yeah, some sportses. So I haven't gotten on to play Overwatch to check and see if the new map is on there or anything like that. Have you noticed a new map at all, like that takes place on a castle?
No, I definitely didn't see that night.
You also bought yourself a new television. Tell us about that.
Oh, I think the table just moved from what happened under the table. It's a 55-inch curved screen.
Picking up what you're throwing
Yeah.
down.
Did you really pick that up?
Oh yes, I picked it up. 55-inch curved screen. It's a
Curved screen.
Samsung.
It's a Samsung Ultra HD 4K whatever.
Mm-hmm.
$650 at Walmart.
I know. So let me tell this story. So it's 12:30 at night, and I had just laid down to go to sleep, and my phone buzzes, and it's Seth, and he says, "Hey man, are you up?" And I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "Can I give you a call real quick?" And I texted him back, and I said, "Yeah." So years in ministry have trained me to think and to understand that if you get a text at 12:30 asking if you're up and if they can call, it probably means somebody has died in a car accident or something horrible has happened that I'm going to have to then go to you in order to help. So I was very concerned for the brief moments between that, yes, you can call me, and when you actually called. And it turns out you were just at Walmart in the middle of the night buying a television.
If I remember right, I sent you like a backup text real quick after that one. Like, everything's okay. I'm just trying to buy a television.
I got that after you called.
Okay.
so my mind had gone 1,000 different directions at this point. I'm like, crap, I'm going to have to.
I'm just like the world's worst, but maybe best shopper. Because I've been walking into Walmart with my girlfriend periodically over the last couple months, and they've had this white curved screen Samsung TV for like $700, and I'm looking at this thing, and it's just in the back of my mind every time I go in, and they have like 6 of them left, and I go in and they have like 4 of them left, and then I go to a different Walmart to get some dishes earlier in the week, and I see these black Samsung TVs that are actually 4K, that are UHD, and they have the up converters in them to like make regular HD things look real nice. and that kind of gets the wheels turning. But they only have 3 of them, and I'm like, you know, I've been spending a lot of money. I'm moving. I just took a vacation.
2 vacations.
2 vacations, actually. Yeah. Oops, I did it again. But so I'm like, I'm not in the market for a television. I've got a TV. It's not the best TV, but it gets the job done. I get to do what I need to do. And then I see that they only have 1 of them left.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, no, that escalated quickly.
Classic marketing.
And
They actually had a bunch in the back.
Right. And I'm like, Bridget, you want to go over and look at these TVs? And she's like, it's just going to make me want to buy one. Why am I going to do this? It's ridiculous. You're not going to buy one. And I was like, I don't know. So I call my dad. I see that they only have the 1 TV left. I'm like, Dad, I need you to talk me out of something. I'm looking at buying a television. And my dad's like the TV guru of. He's not good at setting them up or anything like that, but he just watches a lot of TV.
Yeah.
All day. Like
he's like, that television will show a picture. Pick it up, son.
He's like the 3-eyed Raven in Game of Thrones, but like for television. He knows everything that's going on all the time. Watches the news. Somehow he watches the news all day. He watches every CBS reality show. Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Fear the Walking Dead, The Talking Dead.
NCIS. No, not
Yeah,
NCIS.
yeah,
Well, he
does
watches
watch
that. What's Criminal Minds? I saw him share a post with you about how that guy got fired for allegedly kicking somebody.
Something like that, yeah. Of course, he knows about it.
Right.
Which I think Bridget will actually share that to him, maybe. But just everything except for Duck Dynasty and stuff like that. He was actually kind of addicted to Honey Boo Boo for a little while, whatever that show is called. With the little pig girl, and I would just hear him bust out laughing at some point. And it's not like he liked or even really respected any of the people on the show. No offense to anyone that does.
I don't think people watch that because they respect the people. I think they all watch it for the reason your dad's watching it.
But he was just like, these are the most ridiculous people I've ever seen in my life. Look at this little girl; she doesn't speak English, and.
It sounds racist,
anyway.
But it's not because she's white.
She's just real redneck. But anyway, so I call him and I'm like, I need you to talk me out of this. And I tell him about the deal. I tell him like it's a 4K TV, 55 inches, curved screen for 650 bones. And he's like, I honestly can't talk you out of it. You got the money for it. You've been spending a lot of money lately, but I mean, the deal's not going to be around forever. It's the last TV. And I'm like,
You're like, someone may come in at 3 a.m. and buy it, so you might as well buy it at 12:30.
So I start sweating. Well, I have to take a couple laps around the store. You know how I do when I'm buying just like a DVD.
Yeah,
did
you have it under the TV under your arm?
I did not. But I had to keep checking back to make sure it was there, of course, because I felt like at any time someone could come by and steal this thing. So I do that. I start looking. Like I get on my Xbox app to see if you're online, to see if you're up, and you're not. So I'm nervous to text you or anything. Because I know that Lauren, as soon as she gets woken up from me trying to ask you questions about a television, whatever. Long story.
Well, at that point, I would have been like, he was horrifically burned in a house fire, trying to save kittens, which is really the only believable thing you'd go into a house to try to save.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, or the TV.
At this point, yeah.
But
sir, you can't go back in there. The place is ablaze. But my brand new television's in there.
Anyway, it's a thing of beauty. Just I don't know. It almost gives me a headache. Like I started playing Destiny on it yesterday, and it just looks so real that I just like it. It literally started to give me motion sickness for a second because.
Right.
It hurt, but I'm getting used to it more and more now.
So I told you this earlier. But
I just realized I'm totally blocking the screen with my cup of coffee.
So I told you this earlier, but Lauren and I are in the market for a television as well. And yesterday we found a 43-inch Samsung 4K TV. It's not curved; it's just flat, just a regular flat TV. But I think it was only $348. So I think we're gonna end up buying that one.
I was seeing a lot of like. For some reason, I just really wanted a curved TV. I don't know why. I just think they look BA as H. And,
Understandable.
to some of us. But they had a lot of good deals on, like, did you say it was a Samsung or what brand was it?
Yeah.
Samsung. Okay, like a lot of, Vizio is always a good deal, but they had a lot of, like, even better deals on Vizio TVs. my dad was telling me, real quick anecdote again though, to like ask a salesman or somebody at Walmart, and I was like, those people don't have any idea what they're talking about. There was like a not SanDisk, and I know this isn't the brand, but like it's a shoe brand, Sanuk TV, Sanyo.
Okay,
Sanyo.
yeah.
And like a Sanyo 4K Ultra HD TV
For
like,
$130, it's a 70-inch.
70-inch TV. It was like $300, and I'm like, he's like, this is a real good TV right here. Nice guy. I mean, he helped me out, hooking me up with my baby, the television. But I was like, you done lost your mind, boy.
Yeah. Well, I have a Sanyo TV. When I went to school, we carried my tube TV in the trailer, and it got shaken so bad that the only color it would show was green. So it was like a black and white television, but it was just hues of green that showed the image. So my parents went and surprised me by buying me that Sanyo TV, and it's a decent little TV. It doesn't have the best picture, but the screens on them are super sensitive. If anything happens to it, you get like this weird dark spot. That's what's on ours. There's only 3 brands of TV that I'm interested in buying, and that's Samsung, Vizios, and LGs. LG makes a really nice TV too. Sony makes a nice TV, but you're going to pay an extra $50 on top of what you'd pay for another brand, and then
Yeah.
as the size goes up, you're going to pay more of a difference with the Sony television just for the name. But yeah, Samsung, LG, and Vizio, I don't think you can really go wrong with those. And so $650 for a curved Ultra HD 55-inch, I'd say you
That's what I
lucked
think I
out.
sold you on it. Is when you asked what brand it was, and I said Samsung, and you were like, "Well,
Yep.
that's it."
Dude, I bought that 55-inch TV, the Vizio, old school 1080p TV. That thing was $1,000 when I bought it out of college. Yeah, it was my present to myself for graduating. Zephyr baby is in here.
Zephyr.
All right. Well, we are the Player 3 Podcast. We get together every Monday, talk about video games, push it out to you on youtube.com/Player3 Podcast, iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, and now back, better than ever, on twitch.tv/Player3 Podcast. We are excited to be back, and this will be every Monday. Can't assure what time it's going to be, so you're just going to have to bear with us on that because I have a weird work schedule and everybody else has lives now, so we'll just get together when we can and do the show together. But
Is that a bag of potatoes in your over there?
there is a bag of potatoes, but I don't know if you can see a bag of potatoes from where you're sitting. Is it just a mesh bag?
It's not mesh.
Plastic?
It's plastic.
Okay, it's probably potatoes. You probably can't see it. I can't even begin to see the potatoes.
Homegrown.
Yes. Yes, by somebody. All right.
Still coming to you live from Idaho.
All right,
Talk to me.
Seth, let's get this party started like we get every week started
Over.
with the releases of the week. I wasn't sure if you were
I
gonna
wasn't
hop in.
either. I was kind of feeling it out, and then the universe told me it was all wrong.
I figured if you were going to do it, it was going to be like releases of the week. So, all right. Releasing this week, we have Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
That game's finally coming out.
Yeah. After many a delay, finally coming out. It's getting really, really good reviews as well.
I was thinking that like the whole cybernetic integration thing, like with humans, was Transcendence was going to happen before that game actually came out.
Did you play the first one?
No. Did you?
I have the first one. It's backwards compatible from the 360. I've not even installed it.
I just kind of, it's one of those things like almost like No Man's Sky, although I still have the desire to play that. And there have been, I don't know how many other games that have done the same thing to me. It was so long before it came out. It was talked about so much, I just kind of lost all desire to play it. Maybe not all desire, but I might wait until
An
it's
overwhelming
$20.
majority of desire.
An over, like 97.2% desire.
Yeah, I understand. I've never really been a huge fan of anything stealth. You know, like Metal Gear 5. The little bit that I played of it, I always just get so frustrated because if I'm gonna do something stealth, I don't want to be detected at all. And if I get detected, I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna restart this thing. And but I also suck at video games, so that's the conundrum I find myself in when I play these games. Will I probably end up checking out Deus Ex Mankind Divided? Yes. Will I beat it or even come close to beating it? Will I check it out for the 4 days I'm allowed to at GameStop and then just bring it back without installing it? That's probably the better option of what's going to happen.
Now, you still have more than a snowball's chance in hell of surviving if you aren't stealthy in this game, right?
I think so. I think there's multiple ways to play. The cool thing about this game is you can choose a completely non-lethal playthrough. So you can play 100% of it without having to kill anybody.
Like that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So that's something I'll probably end up checking out and have something to say about in the next couple weeks. But also releasing, we have Madden 17.
I'm sorry, who?
John Madden is a very overweight man who used to coach football, American football.
Oh, you mean Joe Madden, the manager of the Chicago Cubs?
Yes, former manager of the Tampa Bay Rays, and wearer of fantastic glasses, and also
fantastic glasses.
Also, a man with many crazy ideas when he is managing a team as well.
But he's one of the few managers I see that actually smiles.
That is true.
Let's talk about Madden.
All right, so Madden released. Not going to get too in the weeds about it. I enjoy a lot of the improvements of it. You can go check out gameplay videos we've been making over on our Two Left Sticks channel, which is something I forgot to mention in the pre-roll before we got started here. TwoLeftSticks.com. Go sign up for our newsletter. That's a site we're going to be launching here at the beginning of October. You can get signed up for our newsletter. TwoLeftSticks.com/giveaway. Enter for a chance to win Battlefield 1, Call of Duty Modern Warfare, not Call of Duty Modern Warfare, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Gears of War 4, or Watch Dogs 2. You can't enter to win.
I was going to ask if...
Yeah, you can't win. I can't win because we do stuff on the site, but they can win out there.
But if we could, it would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. It'd also be somewhat illegal. So, but anyway, but you guys can win, so make sure you guys sign up for that. But yeah, Madden 17, you can go watch gameplay videos over on our Two Left Sticks YouTube channel. I'm not going to go too far into that. I didn't open up the drop because I'm a terrible person. So that's all we've got.
Probably nothing in there anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's true. That's all we've got for the releases of the week this week. All right.
Releases in week.
I heard the spirits talking to you, and I knew it was going to come then. All right.
I was channeling Ben in that corner. He's just...
Ben probably felt it. He finally has been able to put underwear on and maybe get back to a little bit of normalcy in life now.
By underwear, you mean those tighty whities and like there's a little bit of a brown stain in the back.
Yeah, and a massive yellow stain on the front.
About as massive as they can be in those like skimpy little things. Never mind, I'm not going to tell that story. I saw something real weird yesterday at work, and it just kind of, the underwear talk brought that.
Well, you can't just leave it there.
I don't know. There's this lady. I don't know. Her son used to work in the restaurant, and she's an older lady. She's got an even older man that I guess is her boyfriend or something. And then her son, yada yada, come with her. But then she shows up with different men sometimes, and her son also. And then she's just walking, and it looks like she might have a wedgie or something like this yesterday. And she just kind of looks around and just kind of pulls her pants down, and she's like adjusting her panties in the middle of the restaurant, like walking down the hallway there. But they weren't like, this lady's probably 50, 55 years old, but she wasn't wearing 50 to 55-year-old lady panties. There was something less.
Right. Yes. Okay. All right. Well, now that
so I quit my job.
I am now unemployed, but I have an awesome television.
That's all you really need. But I think that's how most people that are unemployed.
As if you needed any reason to quit your job. You were already like toes over the edge, and that just pushed you over it. I understand. Mm-hmm. Now you can just waste away watching Big Brother Season 3 reruns. So, wait, do you guys watch Big Brother?
We do.
All right, moving on.
Of course my dad does. Moving on.
All right. Let's go to not everybody's favorite segment. That's at the end. Let's go to our newest segment, Topics. You have anything for that?
You mean Zopics?
Well, it's spelled Zopics, but it's pronounced Topics. We've had to explain this to Ben. We had to give him a little bit of a like a disciplinary referral almost.
Is it because the X changes into a T if you turn it
Yeah.
cattywampus.
Well, when we first introduced this, I said our newest segment topics, and Larry said yes with an X, and I said yes, XOPICS, and that just kind of stuck. But it's still pronounced topics. And then Ben got it wrong, and he ended up having to pay a fine. So I would suggest you not make that mistake again, because we'll split your pay for this podcast in half.
Shoo.
Yeah, pretty significant. What's up, Toxic Terrorist 847-487-487. All right.
I'm moving to bloody London to hang out with Zephyr.
Wow, what did he say? Oh, yeah, he quit his job, too. So, Zephyr, let us know what kind of television you have, and we'll arrange whose house is going to go to who's going to go to whose house. All right? I'll start off our topics this week, my friends.
Start us off. Because my topic kind of played into your topic, or I guess.
Yeah, possibly.
One of them.
Okay. Here we go. So this is from our boy Eddie over at GameSpot. And it was with in an interview on the Inner Circle podcast with Albert Pineo, I think is how you say it. But basically, he said that bringing Xbox One games to the PC is not going to kill the Xbox. And this is a little long. Bear with me, but it's important for the discussion. The article reads, not everyone has been thrilled with Microsoft's new PC/console unification program through Xbox Play Anywhere. Even before this was announced at E3, the confirmation that Quantum Break was coming to PC back in February ruffled some feathers. Some claimed it was the death of console exclusives, and even further, that it might mean Microsoft is backing away from the console space. This is not the case, according to Xbox executive Albert Pineo. Appearing on the latest Inner Circle podcast, Pineo said bringing games to PC doesn't take anything away from the console market, but instead gives gamers more opportunities to play games. Quote, there's a debate or discussion that you can have with a certain type of people online, and you want to argue details and argue nuance, but the reality is that most people don't make that kind of choice. End quote, Pineo said about the idea that someone wouldn't buy a game just because it's on another platform. Quote, today, if you play games, you're playing games on just about everything you own. You're playing games on your phone, you're playing games on your console when you want to lay back in front of that big TV, and you're playing PC games when you want that keyboard and mouse up close, highly customized kind of experience. Even guys that are die-hard console gamers, we know they play on their phone and PC. End quote. Similarly, there are hardcore PC gamers out there who also play on console and mobile. Quote, so to me, the idea that you're bringing games to PC suddenly means the people don't want consoles anymore. It doesn't ring true to how gamers really behave, end quote, Pineo added. So, my question to you, Seth, you weren't with us when we watched the Microsoft press conference, but one of the things that they announced was this Play Anywhere initiative, where if you purchase a game digitally on your Xbox One and it's published by Microsoft, you also can play that game on Windows 10 machines.
Correct.
My question to you is, do you think that matters in the long run to Xbox's success?
I can see why people think that it does, but I don't really. I mean, I agree with Mr. Panini totally. What does it matter if you like it? I feel like that's just giving you more options to play. Like maybe I want to jump on my laptop. Like it's going to really hurt college students because I remember like when I was in college, everybody just spent all day on Facebook all the time. Like you write a paper, you write for 10 minutes, you jump on Facebook and start looking at looking for action. Now people are just going to be like, I don't want to sit in front of my Xbox. Let me go do some work. And then they're just going to play Halo 5 until their eyes bleed and then fail ultimately at college.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
For that beautiful narrative of failure that we can all look forward to. My opinion on this is that it does not necessarily affect the sale of games. I mean, obviously, you're going to have stupid people across the internet making a stand and trying to stand on some sense of principle that's a little bit misguided. But I do think in the long run, if you're not giving people a reason to own a piece of equipment outside of the pieces of equipment they already own, they're not going to buy that piece of equipment. And my point is this. So many people own a PC that is running Windows 10. And, depending on the power of the PC, as parts get cheaper and as Xbox kind of moves into this territory of scaling their games to be able to match different consoles, with the Scorpio, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. you're gonna have more and more people that are owning a PC that is capable of running these sorts of games. And so 5 years from now, when people are owning Windows 10 machines capable of running these games, how are you incentivizing them to go out and to buy an Xbox, whatever is out in the next 5 years, whatever it's going to be called, if everything that you can play on there can be played on a piece of equipment that you already own?
I think he kind of speaks to it, Mr. Panini, in that comment. There's just something extraordinary about playing on your television. It's the centerpiece of the living room. I mean, you sit on the couch, it's relaxing, and you get your friends together, and you're around the big screen, almost like going to a movie or something like that. It's almost like when Kindles started coming out, e-readers of any kind. Because I was kind of just getting into college when those were getting. I can't say really big. I mean, as big as a reading machine can be,
right?
In the world, but
we were of the age, like when we were in college, it was that point where it was like, well, paperback books are dying away because the e-readers come along.
The presses are going to be shut down. People are just going to stop reading paper books anymore. The world's going to hell.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. And I mean, I don't see any more people reading
right
than I did before, or any less people rather. I don't know. I mean, it's just one of those things. Like, I see people on the beach with books. It's one of those things that it's never gonna die, because it's just the way it is. There's something about holding that book in your hand and flipping the page, if you're really into it, about like highlighting and taking a pen to it, making notes in the margins of your book. And then at the same time, when you're on the bus, when you're on the beach, if you're reading a Kindle, nobody's going to see the cool book that you're reading, like on the cover. Like, they're not going to see Fabio and his long blonde hair, shirtless, hairless chest, basking in the moonlight, as like a lady in a long, flowing red dress from balconies calling down to him, "Come to me, come to me, Fabio."
Thank you. I feel like you've strayed left of center from the point you were making.
Again.
So bring it back. What's your point?
Basically, much like the e-readers of yore, I don't think that gaming consoles are going anywhere. I mean, really, it's just PCs are cool and all that, PC Master Race, whatever. That, not just the Xbox, but consoles are part of your television, and televisions aren't going anywhere anytime soon. If you love gaming, more than likely you love consoles, and those big hits. I mean, you're not going to give that up just to play on your laptop. I mean, unless you're already a PC Master Race gamer.
Yeah. Well, and I think coming from the two of us who are console gamers, and we don't really have a baseline for PC gaming at all. The only PC game you really played was that one in high school. What was it?
Tibia.
Yeah, Tibia.
And then we put a lot of work in on the Halo Combat Evolved, like, not beta. It was just like the free download you could do where you just played on Blood Gulch all the time.
Mm-hmm. So as people who like to console game, I don't think there is going to be anything that kind of pulls us away from that experience. But I do think there are plenty of people who own consoles simply for the exclusives that come to those consoles while they do their main third-party gaming on the PC. And if we're not giving those people a reason, I'm with you. I don't think console gaming is going anywhere. But is it going to negatively affect the sales of the consoles that Microsoft is releasing? I think it will. And it may not be anything like they can feel on the bottom line of it, because anything that they lose in the console space is just going to be gained in the Windows 10 space.
Yeah, so they're not losing one way or the other.
But to me, the conversation isn't so much about whether or not Microsoft is going to feel it, but is the Xbox division going to feel it? And I think that there is going to be some, as we start to blur the lines, especially going into like this iterative console cycle where we're going to be getting a new console every 4 years, probably. As we start to blur those lines, people are just going to think, well, why don't I just start to build a PC that can run this stuff? and then I can play Steam games. I can play Windows 10 games. I can play all that stuff all in one place, and then I can upgrade it when I want to, and probably more cheaply than just buying a brand new console every few years to try to keep up. So I think this interview, this part of this interview was a little too dismissive. A little too dismissive of the problem. Yeah, well, I mean, one way or the other, Xbox is going to be fine. I think Xbox will be okay ultimately in the end, but I do think that they're going to start to see a little bit of a dip. But then it'll be undergirded by the fact that people can play on Windows 10 machines too, and that's all money to the same place. So that's my thoughts on it.
You're right.
All right, and by the way, Zephyr says he's not in London, which is a lie because all of England is London.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know that, but if you draw a map of England, that's all London right there.
You get that big Ferris wheel
and Big Ben
and
Doctor Who
and the cliffs, the White Cliffs.
The Wycliffe Johns, and
that's what they're called.
there's Benedict Cumberbatch as a dragon. So I understand Zephyr, and he owns a 48-inch LG, so he basically has to come here.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, you lost that one, bud.
All right, your topic, Seth.
Can we actually, because it wasn't my topic played into your topic, my topic plays into the news.
Okay, that's fine.
So
We'll
make a news sandwich.
So we'll make it right now. The news and the topics are overlapping here.
You can be the meme. I can be the fun. Is that how that song goes?
It can be if you want to. All right, go ahead, Seth. Usher us in to your topic, which is also the news.
So,
You want me to scroll down for you?
Yeah,
my friend.
Por favor.
Here, I'll hand you this.
Oh, the pad of eye.
Yes, there you go.
So in the news, with the podcast guys, Metal Gear Survive has been announced. Tamer Hussein, GameSpot. Konami's talking about this Metal Gear Survive, and they just released a trailer for it during Gamescom. A lot of the footage that we saw, if you've seen this trailer, it's kind of taking place during the opening scene of The Phantom Pain. And somehow, no spoilers or anything like that for the trailer, somehow
we don't want to spoil something that would take you 2 minutes to watch.
So if you're a fan of these games at all, or if you've even started to play like Ground Zeroes or anything, then Mother Base is under attack at the very beginning or the very end, depending on which game you're talking about. And they have to evacuate pretty much just everything. Like the place is falling apart, and somehow, I guess the combat with the 80s helicopters in the sky is develops wormholes in the sky, so the lightning's forming in the clouds. There are these portals opening up, and just stuff starts getting sucked into them. It starts getting sucked whole. No, not whole. Like Mother Base is breaking apart, and so these big parts of Mother Base are landing in some desert netherscape, and they're these weird looking zombie monsters with like burning coal heads. And basically, you and a group of friends, it's a multiplayer game, have to figure out a way to survive. And I don't know, it seems like Call of Duty Zombies, but for Metal Gear. And my kind of topic is to play into the news. Like, this is exactly what we talked about once upon a time when we learned that Hideo Kojima was no longer going to be with Konami. Like, what could they possibly do with this franchise? Are they going to try to iterate on the story even more, like on a yearly basis, something like that? The answer is no. They're just going to make a whole bunch of crap and I'm sure that they'll explain it in a way that kind of almost sort of makes sense. I mean, they had wormholes played into the Phantom Pain, but like in like a really fun kind of sense. Like just once you get so far into the game that it's pretty much beaten, you unlock enough money and like in-game money and supplies to develop wormhole technology to transport goods back to Mother Base and stuff like that.
Lean back into the shot, my friend. There you go. There you go.
Phased
You were straying. You were going a little left to center.
I was relaxing too much.
It was a little bit of a microcosm for.
Literally, yeah. But yeah, it's just I don't understand whose idea this could have been.
not Kojima's, and I
not-
think that's all that really matters.
You're right. Is ringing on that one. But I don't know. I mean, what did you expect to see this soon out of?
Honestly, I did not expect to see anything this soon out of the Metal Gear franchise.
Especially a multiplayer game.
Yeah, especially something so far away from what Metal Gear's been, And I mean, they had the Metal Gear Online stuff, and but it wasn't nearly as popular as.
It's just kind of supplemental
yeah.
to the story.
And so for them to just go completely like Metal Gear's always been weird, and it's always been super hard to understand. But this is a little too on the nose in weirdness, even for Metal Gear, like the wormholes and the monsters and the multiplayer and all that sort of stuff. Honestly, I thought Metal Gear was going to take. I mean, it hasn't even been a year since the Phantom Pain released.
Yeah, it was last September, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we're coming up on that year, and with as sour as everything was with Kojima, you would expect like, hey, let's let everything kind of cool off, because not only did you have all the stuff kind of leading up to the Phantom Pain, then you had the weird stuff in December at the Video Game Awards and all that sort of stuff about Konami barring Kojima from being at the awards, and now Kojima's gone off and he's with Sony, and then he shows up on stage at E3, and like there's really been no time for that wound to kind of start to cinch up, and I expected Konami to just be like, okay, well, the Kojima stuff is out of the way.
Let's relax.
Let's just take a little break.
If you're thinking about America, well, not America, but the world, sides were chosen. You're either a Konami person or you're a Kojima person, maybe. So you're going to be rubbing a lot of people the wrong way by doing something with the franchise this soon, and something so just totally random at that.
Zephyr says the trailer for Metal Gear is basically a metaphor. It shows the base blowing away. That is basically Kojima getting out of there. Then what remains is what Konami is trying to dry and bleed out Metal Gear. They tried Metal Gear pachinko machines, which those do exist, and they asked, what else can we make money off of for Metal Gear? Kids love zombies. Mm-hmm. It does feel a little late to the party. Like, let's jump on the zombie bandwagon now that the question is the zombie genre oversaturated finally in full gear.
I mean, they kind of had them in the Phantom Pain, but I don't know. It's just the whole thing seems. Did you expect to see anything? I mean, not necessarily a question of timing now, but did you ever expect to see something in particular next in Metal Gear?
I expected either just like a full universe reset, because I mean, I'm not even fully convinced Kojima knew how everything connected. So let alone anybody that was left at Konami. And so to try to build anything off of it, like I guess an alternate universe or some sort of parallel timeline or whatever is maybe the next best thing to a reset. But I expected them to just be like, hey, we're gonna come and we're just gonna do Metal Gear, and I expected it to be in 2 or 3 years. Because, and we talked about this when Kojima left, like Kojima leaving was not going to be the thing that breaks Konami. Konami does all kinds of stuff. They do electronics, they do workout equipment, they do pachinko machines, they do water, I think. Like they do all kinds of different stuff over in Japan. So they could afford to take a break from this. And I just think this is a bad marketing stumble of them to just try to force this on Metal Gear fans. And we talk about this a lot on the show, but kind of like the bastardization of franchises and how just tacking something popular's name onto some new concept doesn't automatically make it successful, and in fact can kind of deter from it. And I think the most classic example of that was Battlefield Hardline, how they took this totally different idea rather than warfare, it being cops and criminals, and kind of just stuck the Battlefield name on it, and it didn't make any sense why it was attached to it, just to try to ride the coattails of it. But now you're trying to ride the coattails of this franchise that's basically been set ablaze in the last year, and you're like, well, we're just going to ride this flaming garbage truck into the great beyond.
Maybe they're just trying to just ruin. I think that's kind of what you're saying, like to just ruin the name of the franchise and just bash it into the ground. Like the next release will be 6 months after the release of this in 2017, where it's all about zoo tycoon. You're just managing the animal sanctuary on Mother Base. You know, you're bringing you're taming elephants, bringing them in. Maybe like franchising out, starting a circus.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no telling. The possibilities are endless.
Our boy Busy Moose has joined us. What's up, Busy Moose?
Is he one of the boys now?
Yeah. He was a boy back when you were here too. It's just been a while. It's been a while.
Times have changed.
So Zephyr says I expected a Metal Gear mobile game. I kind of expected something like that as well.
We talked about that, yeah.
So as a Metal Gear fan, what did you expect? Like, well, maybe not so much what did you expect, but what would have made you feel like, okay, I'm not getting gypped by this Kojima-less Metal Gear. Is there anything that could have done that for you?
I mean, really, I expected them, if they were to do anything at all, which kind of the consensus seemed to be, like, they had said that they were going to keep things going back once upon a time. I really just expected just a more traditional, more traditionally told story, I guess I should say. The thing about Kojima was he's so into meta-narrative. He's so just kind of wonky and out there, and he's pulling from kind of every genre you can think of, be it spaghetti westerns or be it kind of stealth action thrillers and sci-fi and all that stuff. So I was expecting kind of all those things pulled back on the reins a little bit, just sort of more of a traditional, like just stealth action, something like that. Just a different story, maybe told about either Solid or Snake or whatever the other guy's name. I can't even think of it now. There's so many Snakes. Boss.
Yeah.
Naked Snake. Any of them, just like kind of something simpler. Not as many vampires, not as many zombies. Not as many arms being chopped off and then somebody else's arm being sewn on, and then the arm gives them the personality of the person that it came from. A little bit less of that maybe, but still nods to with little homages hidden here and there to the weird, wild nature of the franchise, where it's at least its heart.
Right.
But of course, none of that's happening. This is just some weird, wonky, zombie killing, knife stick action.
Now, on the bright side, this is not going to be a $60 game. So, we're talking, $30, $40 experience.
I thought you were going to say 75.
It's not going to be a $60 game. They're going to charge $120 for it. But do you think you'll play it?
There's really no telling at this point. I'm going to have to see more from it. And it's probably going to be one of those, like most games that I buy now, that I check out on Twitch for a long time first before actually putting money into it. Just because as of right now, I don't believe in the game at all. I believe it's real.
I don't believe.
I don't know.
All right. Next item on the list for the news, because we did that weird transition.
Circling back around to the news.
Because we're now in the news with the podcast, guys. So, Hajime Tabata has explained why Final Fantasy 15 was delayed. This is from Andrew Goldfarb over at IGN in an interview with him at Gamescom, which was last week. It says, quote, originally I was thinking it would be okay and we could put all the extra updates into a day one patch. But at that point, I learned there are maybe a lot of people out there who play in an offline environment and don't have internet. When I found that out, thinking about it again, I'm glad I didn't make that decision, end quote.
What an elitist prick. Like, you're living over in Japan where everything's connected, like where your toilets are connected to the internet. You flush with a touch screen. You don't realize there's some of us out there, living in trailers in the murk and the muck of the woods and cabins in the Smokies, and yeah, man, this is the culture in which day one patches.
What?
Day one patches rule the world, and you can't release a game without it having a day one patch to fix all of the crappy errors that are in it. So it's kind of cool of you to not rely so much on that, but at the same time, come on, man.
What great outrage to only end in a little bit of appreciation. I thought this was very, very interesting. Especially after the game that is No Man's Sky. So if you buy the disc of No Man's Sky and install it in your console, and you don't have it connected online, you are playing an entirely different game than somebody that is playing it with the patch built into it. There's all kinds of different things that they added with that patch. And from what this article over on IGN said, this was not so much a bug update as much as a content update of, hey, day one patch is going to contain all of this information, all these different features and modes or whatever. And Tabata just had to take a step back and realize, like, if we do that, that means there is going to be a segment of the population that's playing a completely different Final Fantasy 15 than everybody else. Is that a very small portion of the population? Absolutely. But it exists nonetheless. And if you have a vision for a game and you think that vision is supposed to be complete, kudos on you for taking the extra time to get it done. This is interesting to me, though, because we talk a lot about the digital-only future and the fact that it's coming, and it's inevitably coming. There's coming a day...
It's a reckoning.
Yeah, there's coming a day where they will release a console that does not have a disk drive in it. There's coming a day where you will have to be connected to the internet on this stuff, and the amount of pushback is not going to be able to change that, because as every day goes by, there are more and more people that are getting access to not just internet, but good quality internet that allows them to be capable of downloading games and downloading patches and all that sort of stuff. Do you think a realization like this and an upfrontness like this maybe delays that sort of future a little bit?
Probably. I mean, I don't know. Like I've said, the whole day one patch kind of thing just always it never ceases to blow my mind, and it never will. Just because, and I'm still getting over the thing we talked about for 6 months last year or in the year before about the Unity release and things like that, and just how botched so many games are without their patches. So I'm almost scared to ever. That's why when I was living without internet for like a few months earlier this year, I didn't want to play games because I never knew if I was gonna open the box, pop the game in, and whatever I played was just gonna be hot liquid garbage. I don't know. It's just Day one patches are nice because they can fix last minute bugs, but when it kind of changes the entirety of the game that you buy, I don't know. I struggle with that.
Well, naturally, day one patches are going to be a thing from now until the end of time.
That's
just
true.
because
I'm living in the past. But.
Well, and just because you're having to get your games out to cert 2 months before the actual release, you're having to go gold, 6 to 8 weeks before the game is set to release, and that gives you. And you don't just make your game go gold and then say, hey, we're going to go spend 6 weeks in the Bahamas until our release date. Like, you continue to work on the game, you continue to QA it, you continue to figure out ways to fix bugs or add modes or improve the experience. And so even to a minor extent, there's no way of avoiding the day one patch if you expect these developers to continue to work on their product, which the outrage to me that a lot of people have, and yours doesn't sound as much like outrage as much as just like it's kind of one of those inconvenient pieces of but the outrage for it is like, well, if they find a bug in it on day 2, don't you want them to try to fix that by day 3? So why not get ahead of the process by saying, hey, we're going to fix it with a day one patch? And I understand, like, hey, we want to get complete games when they release and all that, and I understand that, but to an extent, first of all, there are publishers and investors that are holding these developers to deadlines that they really don't have any kind of control over.
Oh, yeah.
And depending on the relationship that they have with the publisher, they may be able to get it delayed, but there is no harder decision to make in the industry than delaying or canceling a game. And so for Final Fantasy 15 to go and say, hey, we need an extra 3 months to get this thing right, and for the publishers to look at what they had and look at their reasoning for why they need the extra time to say, go ahead and take that, then there's clear reason for it. There's a clear need for it. But oftentimes publishers don't afford that kind of opportunity to the developers. So the best that they can do for their consumers is, hey, we'll just push out what we need to in a day one patch and a week two patch and a month after patch or whatever it may be. We'll make it right, but understand that we don't really have a say. And I guess what drives me insane about the way that people react to these things is we tend to think that there's just one person working on the game, pulling the trigger for the release date, making sure the patches get released, sending it through cert, when in reality, these are large teams of people and multiple companies working on these things that may not necessarily see eye to eye. And so the day one patch is just a thing of reality that we're never going to be able to escape. But it is interesting to me that a person like Tabata in this industry can look and say, I recognize that there is a subsection of gamers that are never going to be able to play the game that we intended if it doesn't release on the disc, and delaying it for that reason, and that being the purpose for the delay.
Oh, yeah.
And as a publisher, to be able to see that reasoning may give you some pause in the future when you start thinking like, hey, we can kind of cut out some overhead here if we don't release this on disc, if we just release it digital. Well, that same subsection that would have been alienated by a large day one patch with Final Fantasy 15 are also going to be ones that miss out on 100% of the experience of a digital only game. So,
You sound like you've thought this through.
I think many things through, Seth. Mostly like lunch, which I'm starting to really get concerned about.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on. The Xbox Scorpio is hoping to alleviate the disruption created by console generations. This is from Eddie over at GameSpot. Same interview with Albert Pineo. Again, bear with me. On the latest Inner Circle podcast, Xbox director Albert Pineo spoke about how the new Scorpio device, which launches in 2017, is Microsoft's attempt at, quote, thinking beyond console generations, end quote. While previous transitions like the one from Xbox 360 to Xbox One have been, quote, disruptive, end quote, for developers and gamers alike, the move to Scorpio will be different. The device introduces the idea that Xbox consoles exist in the same family, with the games and peripherals you own able to move forward with you. Quote, you hear us talking about thinking beyond console generations. It's not the idea that you don't want to do consoles anymore, or that there's not going to be more performance in the future new systems, Pineo said. But if you go back and look at console generations, they're always super exciting when something new comes out, but they're super disruptive. They're really hard on developers because they have to learn how to program on these new machines. They're really hard on customers, which I think sometimes people forget. You have to give up a lot of stuff. The idea for Scorpio in the future is, can we smooth that out? Can this be more about a family? Can we think beyond? We're going to do this one and then stop and then start all over again, end quote. Seth, I don't think we've talked to you about the idea of iterative consoles and the idea of an Xbox Scorpio or a PS Neo, something that is in the same branch of the family, but just a bit more powerful while remaining backwards compatible for other things. What are your thoughts on it?
I understand it. I mean, it works so well for our phones, for tablets. It makes me nervous for consoles because, one, I haven't seen it happen yet. So right away, I don't totally understand it. I'm just going to have to see how it plays out. I don't understand the timing necessarily because they just, especially for the Xbox, because they just released their Slim console. So you're going to have people. Are we 3 years into this generation of consoles?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this will be launched in 4 years.
Right. But so 3 years in, you're going to have your Slim console release. And then so you're going to have some people that are transitioning from the Xbox One even to the Slim, and then not necessarily that they're going to expect you, because the intention is that you're not going to have to switch, right? That your Xbox One, even the Premier console, is going to be not just as viable, but I mean it's going to be playing the same games that your Scorpio is going to play.
Yeah.
So I understand it. I get it. I mean, it gives you the choice to upgrade. Of course, it's going to have that new sleek appeal. Just that new things have. But I don't know. It frustrates me because just when I think I have the best technology, that's when it all gets swooped under my feet. I would have thought that the Slim console would be the console for at least a couple more years.
Mm-hmm.
Oops.
Yeah. they're taking way more of a PC approach with this. There's different PC hardware coming out all the time, and there's constant ability to upgrade. But if you don't choose to upgrade, you don't really get left behind. Yeah, you may have to play the game at lower specs with different frame rates, different resolution, all that sort of stuff. But when push comes to shove, you're able to get the same experiences that anybody else is able to get.
Right.
The question that remains in the air is, how long will the original Xbox One be supported after the Scorpio comes out? And because there were still games coming out on the 360 the year of launch and even a year after. They were just kind of diluted experiences, feature light experiences, if you will. So examples being like Shadow of Mordor didn't have the Nemesis system, and like Call of Duty Black Ops 3 didn't have the campaign in the old on the Xbox 360 and PS3.
Right.
And so, is that going to be the way that these consoles are handled as well? Are there going to be Xbox Scorpio exclusive game modes or experiences that you can have? I can endure, them coming out and saying, "Hey, you can play this in 1080p on your regular Xbox, on your Xbox One original, but you can go 4K or whatever on your Scorpio." I can manage with that. What I don't want to happen is you have to there's going to be this major feature that changes the way the game plays that's exclusive to the Xbox Scorpio and not the Xbox One.
I mean, if they run it the same way that most phones do, I mean, not on a yearly basis by any means, but every 3-4 years, something like that. I don't mind, because most of the features, you update the systems, like, you update your iPhone 5 with the same updates that you do your iPhone 6S, something like that. That I'm totally fine with. But kind of the same thing. It will frustrate me beyond no end, and I know that most people will probably feel the same way, if there's any sense in the world whatsoever. That why would you want to fragment the experiences anymore? I mean, it's not like you're jumping totally from. It's not like a generation gap. I mean, there shouldn't be that much of a change in hardware. I mean, sure, a good deal, but enough to fragment that experience as much as, like, say, the PS3 couldn't generate the Nemesis system the same way that the PS4 can. I wouldn't think that there's that much to be done, but I could be totally wrong.
Yeah, so the question is, like, how do you create a machine that is worth the price of admission to start playing on, and that is worth the price of the upgrade for people who already own the Xbox One, while not alienating the people who can't make that upgrade all the time? Because the difference with a phone is your phone's subsidized over the life of the plan that you sign up for. So you sign a 2-year contract or whatever, and you're paying X amount every month on top of your bill so that you didn't have to pay so much up front. And you can't really do that with a console. Really, the only thing kind of, and maybe they'll come up with something where it's subsidized more within it. I don't know. But I guess the only thing that you could really do is have an attractive trade-in program to it, where, hey, you trade in this piece of equipment, you get X amount off of this equipment. Because with your phone, like with an iPhone, you're still, even with a contract, you're going to pay $100, $150, $200, depending on the size of the memory you get or whatever. And you're upgrading every 2 years on your phone, basically. So if I'm upgrading every 3 years, but I can trade in my old piece of equipment and then only end up paying $200 for this new piece of equipment, I can live with that. I think that's something that I can live with, at least.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just to a great extent they do that already, but with escalating and de-escalating prices, I guess.
I think it is an interesting concept that this is going to help alleviate some of the pressure on developers, that they'll be able to kind of take a more PC specs approach to it, where, yeah, you make this game and you make it where it can run on high settings, you can make it run on ultra settings, you can make it run on low settings to span the gap of it. That way you're not having to halt and have to learn more. You're not having to stop and just build from the ground up based on the equipment that you have now. The delinquent asks, who the heck would want to upgrade that constantly? I would, because I'm one of those people. who likes the latest and greatest.
I want it all. Yeah, it's just a matter of doability.
Mm-hmm. You have to make a program like this approachable and attractive until we can get used to the rhythm of it. Because that's the problem. We're used to buying a console. If you buy it day one, you're good for 5-6 years with it, until the next thing comes
Unless
out.
it breaks or something
Yeah.
like that. It's different for phones because it's one of those things that you've got to have.
Mm-hmm.
And so you do kind of want to be constantly upgrading and things like that. But with something, peripheral to most people's lives, like gaming, you've got I feel like there's got to be I don't know what to call it. There's got to be a balance somewhere in there in terms of your yearly upgradability.
Mm-hmm.
I'm losing my words here, but because it's something that I don't know exactly what to think about, again, because I haven't seen it done before in gaming.
Yeah.
So I'm a little scared.
The delinquent says, better question is, if an upgrade breaks your system, will there be an ability to roll back to roll it back? So his question is, if you buy this new console and the console is broken, but your other console ran fine, would you be able to roll back? I think that's what he's asking. I think that okay, so he says across many upgrades, some have been known to brick certain appliances. So I think what he's talking about more is a modular approach to upgrading, which is where I want the future to go, where it's not I have to buy a new box all the time, but there are tabbed pieces within it where I can pop out the GPU. I can pop a piece of it. I can pop the graphics card out of it and put a new graphics card in it and be able to roll with the same case, with the same innards. It's just one piece that I'm upgrading in order for it to run.
Right.
And do that in a simpler way than the PC makes you do it. Make this more of like a pick and snap kind of deal. And I don't think you could be able to give that assurance because there's so much user error that can go into upgrading a modular console like that. Like, okay, well, you're the one that broke that piece, and so we can't give you your old piece back. That's not the way the world works. I mean, if you're worried about that sort of stuff, you just have to wait and do your research on it. With the Red Ring of Death, for instance, like, and when the 360 did that, they were offering a limited number of like returns on it to where you could get it fixed, but it came to a point where they were just like, this is too big of a problem, and so you were better off to just hold out and kind of see how the upgrade went rather than do it day one and get left out in the cold when you've got this now very expensive paperweight right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
So the real ruse is N64 had exactly what you were talking about with the expansion pack. So I'm talking, and I think that's a good example, but I think even in a bigger way than that of this box is going to be able to last me. Yeah, the technology within it is going to be upgraded every few years, but the box in and of itself is going to last me 10 because I can just snap stuff into it. So,
Yeah.
All right. The delinquent says more so was talking from a software perspective rather than a hardware experience. And I guess with that, I mean, there's always the opportunity to restore an old save, in an old OS or whatever.
So he's saying kind of like I was about like the iPhone iterations.
Yeah.
The same updates, just different hardware.
Yeah. All right. Next item on the list. Battlefield 1. Got a lot of information on it from a reveal last week, and Zephyr's leaving us. We'll see you, buddy. So Battlefield 1. Did you get a chance to watch any of these?
No, but at this point I don't even need to because it's already sold.
Okay. By the way, you can win Battlefield 1 over on twoleftSticks.com/giveaway. The site we're launching, one of the games you can choose from if you win is Battlefield 1. So head on over there
Just
and
a
do that.
shameless plug.
My show. I do what I want. So got some information about dynamic weather and about horse combat, which are all really cool. It was funny to me that people the internet kind of exploded about this dynamic weather thing, but Battlefield Hardline had a couple maps where there were sandstorms and stuff that would limit your visibility and all that kind of thing. One of my biggest problems with Battlefield, and which Battlefields have you played?
3, 4, and I played the beta of Hardline.
Okay. So when you start sucking at Battlefield, the thing that you do is you press start and you go and you pick a sniper and you just sit outside the map and try to pick people off.
You switch teams in the middle of the game.
Yeah. So the idea of the dynamic weather, just from that aspect of it, of forcing people to switch from being snipers just perched up on a hill because you can't see anything, is awesome to me. But the reveal of this game just looks so awesome. So there was an article over on GameSpot about why DICE ignored science fiction and returned to the past. And this is from Lars Gustafsson, who works on the game. He says, quote, every time we open the research books, we find a new weapon or technique we didn't know was used during World War I. The misconception is that it was all trenches and slow-paced combat, but this was a war of first. These empires were experimenting every chance they had, end quote. And so he's talking about how it's just this era of, it's kind of an untouched era in gaming. It's also a really difficult era to talk about historically because there were so many different players and so many different dominoes falling all over the world. Mm-hmm. And so it creates kind of this basically just rich soil for a narrative to be told and a franchise to be able to be built around it because there's no shortage of locations and of stories to be able to tell. So you said that this game's already sold in your mind. Is that because of gameplay you've seen, or is it because of the fact that it's going back and touching this era that hasn't been touched?
I mean, both. I mean, one thing about Battlefield is that it always feels very real. I remember the first time that I played Battlefield 3, I just thought it was so cool that like when you'd run past like a guardrail on the side of the road, it would show your legs as you're jumping across. Just kind of like you look down, and then really just the gameplay can be so much fun. Like I said, it's realistic, but it's not uber realistic to the point of, one bullet you popped, something like that. But I don't know, that the World War I thing just really does intrigue me. It'd be really interesting to kind of see if there are Easter eggs kind of hidden in maps and things like that in terms of like political Easter eggs. I just kind of all the way around. It's almost harder to find because it's just one of those things. I've got to see how it does. I've got to see how it plays. And I'm not saying that as a cautionary. I've got to see how it does before I buy it. I'm just saying I have to experience it.
Well, you'll be able to experience it at the end of this month when they're running their beta. So you can hop on in there and try it out.
We're buying that for PS4?
If Larry's not getting it, I want to get it on PS4.
Okay. But he's probably not going to because he's got Titanfall and
Overwatch, which Titanfall apparently sucked. I didn't get a chance to play the test this weekend, but they've apparently got a long way to go before making that the game everyone wants it to be. So, the World War I's really interesting to me because it is kind of this like there was this just enormous shift of concept. Like we'd have never made a bigger leap in learning how to kill one another than we did in World War I, outside of the creation of the atomic bomb in World War II. But, we went from, single shot, muzzle-loaded guns and riding on horseback to driving tanks and shooting machine guns and other heavy artillery at one another in the span of the start of World War I to the end of World War I, to the point where millions of people across Europe and in the other fronts ended up dying. And to me, having the horses on the same map as the tanks is just such a beautiful picture.
That's what I'm really interested to see is like, and I'm really interested to see how people plan on taking down tanks whilst on horseback. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
What would you do? Do you know?
I have no idea. So it's almost a lesson. I mean, it's a history lesson in and of itself because it is really an untouched part of American history. But just to see what that leap was like, because that actually happened. There were battles where one side rode in on horses and the other side rode in on tanks, and they had to figure out how to fight one another. So, all right. Next item on the list. Dark Souls 3 DLC announcement is coming later this week. The Dark Souls team took to Twitter today to tease the announcement of Dark Souls 3's first DLC expansion. According to the official Dark Souls Twitter account, the DLC will be revealed August 24th. That is Wednesday. You're not a big Dark Souls fan, are you?
No. And I would like to be. We've talked about it. It's been a long time, so we'll talk about it again. But I would love to be a Dark Souls and like a Bloodborne fan. I'd love it. But I just bought this TV. And, if you missed it earlier, I bought a big TV. Whatever.
If you missed it, you can go back and watch the video. We talked about it for a solid 20 minutes.
Cool, yeah. A curved TV. If I bought these games and I was trying to play them, I would probably break the TV and straight in half, like Solomon and the baby.
Mm-hmm.
Bible joke.
I get it.
Yeah.
I understand. I went to Bible
It was
college.
for our guests, for them, those godless heathens. You guys have you had to do that in a while?
Nah.
Okay, that's cool.
Nah, I don't work at a church anymore.
But what was I even? Oh, Dark Souls.
You want to be a Dark Souls fan, but you're
I
afraid you'll
want to.
break
I
something.
just have absolutely none of the patience. I mean, if I start dying a lot in a game, like if something's too hard nowadays, and this is probably a problem to some extent, but I just refuse to acknowledge it as one. I mean, I can only take so much punishment for
Right.
so long. Like as an adult, like if I was a kid, like if Dark Souls had been doing its thing when I was like 10 years old, but at the same time, my parents had let me play it because it's rated M for mature. I would probably be living a different life right now. Like I would be more familiar with them and know how to play them, and I wouldn't mind sinking all the time into the countless deaths and the weird save system and all that. But as a grown man, there's just not that kind of time in the day. I mean, I have trouble kind of catching up on things now to begin with. So, no.
Yeah. Well, I've said it again. I've said it before. I'll say it again. I suck at video games, and I'm with you. I want to like Dark Souls. I really did like Bloodborne. I just sucked at it. And
You bought 3, didn't you? Dark Souls 3, didn't you?
No, I just checked it out. From work.
Okay.
So,
How far did you get in that bad boy?
like the third boss, I think.
Okay.
So I mean, I made it an okay way, but not as good a way as like Ryan played that game, which he was jobless and wasn't having to pay rent because he was living in my basement. But he played that game for a solid like 3 weeks, and he ended up beating it. But he spent 3 days on the final boss, I think. So I'm like you. I just don't have the patience for it. I want to be if I get into something, I want to be good at it, or I want to like at least feel like there's a chance of me becoming good at it.
Kind of the same thing. I feel like Dark Souls, like I kind of feel right now about WWE 2K16. How much of that have you been playing?
Not any, but I'm going to download it.
I mean, I feel like it's a SmackDown game. I haven't played one literally since the Super Nintendo.
Right.
So it was free. I was like, why not? I don't like how there's pretty much no they don't tell you the controls at all, pretty much.
Right.
So I'm just kind of I'm just pushing buttons trying to figure things out. And I've won like 2 games out of about 60. It's still fun. There's something about that crazy, fake wrestling atmosphere that just like, it's just fun. But I also get really, really frustrated, and you can ask Bridget if you ever see her again.
That was
another little joke.
very dark.
That I'm just screaming obscenities at the TV because I can't do a reversal on a move or something like that. And that's just playing like some quick 5-minute rounds of WWE. So if I'm sinking hours and hours and hours into Dark Souls or Bloodborne 2, whatever, I mean, I'll probably be in a casket, or someone close to me will.
All right. Let's move on to everybody's favorite segment, the random question of the week. Random question of the week for the month for this week. Beautiful.
Yeah, something
Seth.
like that. Talk to me.
No, you talk to me. What's your question?
It's really plain and simple, cut and dry. And it's something I wanted to like bring back to childhood and kind of like explore your roots a little bit, something like that. When was the first time that you remember seeing Danny DeVito?
All right. I've thought long and hard about this question. Is it the first time I saw Danny DeVito or the first time I realized I saw Danny DeVito? So those are two very different questions.
It actually just ran through my mind before you asked that because I have two different answers also. Give me both.
I mean, I guess the first time I saw Danny DeVito was as the Penguin in Batman whatever, Returns or was it Returns
I don't
or
know.
Beyond?
Something like
Hold
that.
on, I'm about to look it up. Danny DeVito, Penguin. Okay. This is a great television right here. Batman Returns, yeah. So that was the first time I actually saw Danny DeVito. And I remember he scared me to death because he was terrifying in that movie.
He's a scary guy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
The first time I realized I saw Danny DeVito, though.
Matilda.
Wait,
No.
was he in Matilda?
Yeah.
He's the dad in Matilda, isn't he? Holy cow, that's the first time I saw Danny DeVito.
He and Rhea Perlman, you're welcome.
Yeah, okay. You just changed my answer. Batman Returns isn't when I first saw him. Matilda's when I first saw him.
But you didn't recognize that it was him?
No, I
okay.
just now recognized it was
I
Danny
guess that's
DeVito.
true, yeah. Wow.
I mean, now that I see it, I'm like, that was Danny DeVito, wasn't it? He was a car salesman, right?
I think so, yeah.
So
Because he was like, because they're saying car salesmen are crooked.
and
dudes.
kind of greasy, like
Yeah.
So
Sleaze balls.
the
No
first time I
offense.
realized that I saw Danny DeVito was probably season 2 of It's Always Sunny. I mean,
Really?
just because I've never been like a big movie or television guy, and
Yeah.
so me connecting names with people like it's just never been my forte. So when I showed up on season 2 of It's Always Sunny, I realized that's Danny DeVito. I don't know why I know Danny DeVito, but that's him.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, my answer just kind of changed too. I was thinking the Penguin too. Now I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure Matilda came out before Batman, right? We're
I'll
gonna have to
check.
Google
You
that, too.
just keep on talking there,
so
my friend.
either way, like it was either Matilda or it was Batman. But the first time I used to when I was
Batman Returns came out in 92. Matilda came out in 96.
okay, so yeah, it was the Penguin. Whether or not I saw one before the other, I'm not sure.
I think I saw Matilda first.
I probably did too, but there's no. I might have saw Penguin on TV or something like that. And then really the first time when I was in like middle school, I really, really loved African American comedies. So like anything with Martin Lawrence in it, anything like Eddie Murphy, any of those guys, I just ate it up. I saw Undercover Brother in theaters, if anyone knows what that movie was. And I saw What's the Worst That Could Happen with Martin Lawrence and Danny DeVito. I still love that movie to this day. And that it was one of those I would watch like every night on VHS before I went to bed for a couple months, something like that, because we didn't have Netflix. I would buy a movie every couple weeks and just kind of wear the tape thin. So I kind of became I didn't follow Danny DeVito's career and love life ever since then or anything like that. But I was like that's a funny tiny man. And then of course like lo and behold I become a Sonny fan years and years later, and he just happens to be on that show.
He was also the stripper in Friends when he showed up on that episode.
Yep, I remember that. And he's the police. He's in the police uniform, right? And I mean, really, I haven't watched every movie that he's ever been in, but he's just one of those guys. And he's also, I don't know if you realize, he produces a ton of stuff.
I think I
And
know that, but I don't know what he produces.
yeah, like
I know he has his irons and a lot of fires.
yeah, he just kind of like hands in everything, just about. It seems like, and probably things that you don't even really know about. Like he might be. I wouldn't be surprised if old DeVito's like a third cameraman somewhere on the set of some show while he's on his lunch break for Sonny. I don't know.
Probably. All right. Great question, Seth.
Thank you.
I appreciated it. No, I appreciate you being here with me today.
It's good to be here, man.
Let's wrap this thing up because I'm hungry. Kick us off. Who are you? Where can we find you?
My name's Seth. You can find me on Xbox Live at Dongzors. That's my gamer tag. It's DONGZORZ. Z as in zebra. On the PSN, you can find me at Buttzors. Butts, like the bottom of your body. Boop comes out, Buttzorz, Buttzorz. Kind of got a monopoly on the whole lower body thing on my game tags. But yeah, add me when I'm on. See if I want to play some games.
He doesn't.
I probably don't, but
He's probably just eating a bowl full of spaghetti while
I'm
Overwatch
just
is
sitting
paused.
there drinking margaritas and playing Overwatch and yelling obscenities at the screen.
At your curved screen, your brand new curved screen.
Yep. Yeah. And I will never curse I would never curse to the television.
Right.
I will curse
in the direction of
general direction, because the thing that I'm really cursing at is an idea behind the screen.
Yes, I understand. Sorry.
Maybe the guests don't. Open your minds. Just start. I used to do it all the time too, didn't I? Just berate whoever happened to be listening.
Yeah. All right.
The legacy continues.
I am Luke. You can find me on Twitter at TK from Antioch. Add me on Xbox Live at Download a Hoagie. That's the only place I really play multiplayer games. So no reason to add me on PSN. But if you wanted to, it is what is my PSN name? Lodger Blackman. Lodger Blackman.
I almost forgot because I haven't played with you on there in so long.
Yeah. Follow us on Twitter at Player3Podcast, YouTube.com/Player3Podcast, Twitch.tv/Player3Podcast, all those different places. Check out TwoLeftSticks.com and our giveaway at TwoLeftSticks.com/giveaway. Win a copy of Battlefield 1, Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, Gears of War 4, or Watch Dogs 2. But we are the Player 3 Podcast, and we're getting out of here.
Player 3 Podcast!
P3P.